Hello and welcome to Real World Leadership, where we're bringing our best selves to life and leadership. I'm your host, Susan Johnson, founder of Truth Enterprise Partners, a talent development consulting company based in Atlanta, where we focus on executive coaching, leadership development, and diversity and inclusion. Our vision is to inspire a world where authenticity, diversity, and truth are valued. And our aim is to bring out the potential in people. It's what drives us to get up every day, to bring our very best. And we hope we bring out the true potential in you. So thank you for joining us. Today at Real World Leadership, we have a guest speaker on the topic of people development. It's part of our series on leader development attributes. And Kelly Johnson is here with us today. Kelly and I have a lot in common. We both used to work at Target back in the day. We're both from Minneapolis, spent some time there. She's an expert on leadership. She's a TNBC fanatic. That's the Marcus Buckingham Company fanatic. So she knows all about Marcus Buckingham and his work. And we also have the same last name of Johnson. In addition, we have a drive to bring out the best in people. And that really connects us in a deeper way. Kelly and I were introduced a couple years ago, but I feel like I've known her a little bit longer than that. It's her realness that really speaks to me. It's her ability to be very down to earth, which is very similar to my style. So I appreciate that about you, Kelly. And of course, it's her expertise and people development, which we jive so well on. It's why I asked her to be our speaker today and help share some information on this topic of people development. Also, Kelly is an executive coach. She's a keynote speaker and facilitator with a specialty in strengths-based leadership. And she's also a highly regarded strategist as well. Kelly, I want to thank you and welcome you to the show.
Thank you. I'm so excited. And I feel the same about you, Susan. We lose track of time when we spend time together.
Absolutely. And thank you so much for being our guest. We're going to dive in, but first, Kelly, I always do an icebreaker question. So I'm going to pull spontaneously from my icebreaker cards, and it'll be just something for our audience to get to know you a little bit better.
Okay, fun.
All right. So this question for you is to share your favorite food tradition. Share your favorite food tradition.
Well, when I think about food, I think one of the things that I've learned and paid attention to more in the last few years is how food is tied to culture. You know, there's a lot of cultural aspects to food. And for me, I have a pretty varied ethnic background, but one of the components of my ethnicity that I really feel connected to within the culture and the foods is part of me is Italian, and my grandmother is 100% Italian, and it sounds so generic, but spaghetti. And you know, when you get homemade spaghetti in Italian families, every family kind of has their sauce.
Yes.
So good. And the homemade noodles, I mean, you can't beat it. So I would say any pasta and I'm in for. So that would be mine. That would be
that's your tradition.
Mm-hmm.
And so you had me at homemade sauce and noodles. So do you do the homemade sauce and noodles?
You know who cooks more at my house? My husband. But okay. I will say this is kind of special is every person in our family, when you get married, you actually get a hand crank pasta maker. And so I have one, both my sisters have one. And I have memories at my grandmother's house of her putting a plastic tablecloth, which that's the thing. It's a plastic tablecloth, and just all the noodles get laid out. And I'd eat the dough raw, which I'm sure you're not supposed to do, but you drop it in that big thing of steaming hot water and homemade pasta.
What a wonderful memory. It sounds beautiful and it sounds delicious.
I feel like I need to make it now this week.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So yeah, next time I'm there, maybe we can get some homemade pasta.
Deal.
All right. So thank you for sharing a little bit of insights and sharing about your memories of your specialty and your food. I appreciate that. So again, our topic today is people development. And as we're talking, I hope we can hit on a couple of things as we discuss. You know, the whole notion of leaders knowing themselves first, I think is important as we talk about this topic. So if we can hit on that, how to unleash the talent and potential in people to get maximum contribution, I think would be fabulous if we can hit on that note. And then just talking with people around some hints that you might have around growth potential and developing talent toward that future growth opportunity for them, or future career opportunity. If we can spend some time on that, that would be great. So as I think about this topic, everyone is unique. And this is what I love about what I do, about being authentic. Everyone is created uniquely, and they have different talents to bring. Leaders as well, of course. So some people, it might be, their gift around coaching, like you and I, have a gift around that. It might be around analytics or something of that nature. So let's talk about, knowing yourself. I know this about myself. I've known this about myself for a while, but as I'm doing work with people, they don't really think about their gifts. They don't really think about their, what their talent is for the world and how they can maximize that. And I'd like to hear your perspective on what you think when we talk about the leader knowing themselves first to be able to help people develop themselves. So share your thoughts on that, Kelly.
Yeah. Oh, I get the chills. It's such a juicy question because, well, first I'll say this. I have come to know my life purpose more clearly as I've gotten older and as the years have gone by. And I'm really clear now in claiming that I am here, I'm on this planet to help people see what they're bringing, to understand their strengths, and not just know them, but take accountability for them in order to offer them. And so I love this question in relationship to leadership, because not only as a leader are you, to your point, needing to know yourself, that what you're doing, and I love the visual, the picture that you have here, it is helping those around you do that. I think as leaders, let's say we have 1,000 listeners, Susan, to your podcast, and every single one of them is a leader. Mm-hmm. Even if, and you and I have worked in very large organizations, even if every single one of them happen to have the exact same job description, yes, the way they do their job is what makes them unique. And I have seen and love seeing, experiencing, witnessing, I'd even use the words, to say the world's most powerful leaders know what's in them and how to use it. Yeah, I think you're almost blinded, shaded if you're just sort of following that job description. And so knowing what makes you you, what makes you unique, and then paying attention not just to your skills, but to your true strengths and understanding those distinctions to say, what is unique about me? What's my what? Right? My what is the tasks that I like to do, the activities. Marcus Buckingham, as you said, is somebody that I've studied, who I have the great blessing to work under and for in my day job. And what he says is a strength is an activity that makes you feel strong. And then your how is unique. Your how is unique. So understanding those two things are so important to make contributions. So I think of them like almost like a posture. Somatic coaching is something that I've spent time learning and certifying in. So think of it like this, is when you understand what's in you this way first, then you're able to offer it.
I love that.
If I don't have anything here, the tank's empty. There's nothing, I can't open that funnel and pour out much if I haven't done this first. And so caring for ourselves first, I think, has to be a priority and a lifelong priority for a leader. You can't just do it once or go through one, program until we can constantly know ourselves in order to do this.
Mm-hmm. I love the fact that you talked about, being able to fill someone else. You got to know what's filling you, what you need to be filled. How do you need to get fueled? Fuel yourself. And then, take your gift and share it with the world, but you have to take care of yourself first.
Absolutely.
And that's so very important right now. And I love the imagery of, taking what you have, and being able to gift that and share that with an open perspective, open body language toward that. That's great. So how would you suggest people learn what that gift is. I use some cards. I call them calling cards. There's a kind of a card sort activity I do with people sometimes. I also have conversation with them about some of the things you said. What makes you feel strong, to kind of get at their strengths. And if that's something that they enjoy doing, they get lost in. What do you typically do to bring that out?
I agree. I love everything you just said. I think one of the things that I want to stress, and this is the teacher role in me, is that I do think this is a lifelong journey. And so I just want to say to your listeners, love you where you're at today. Love yourself, give yourself grace. And so if you know yourself a little bit, amazing. If you've done a lot of self-development, amazing. Keep going. And so imagine that tank as knowledge and wisdom that, gets poured out as you use it. So you're constantly needing to refuel that. So I think one nod is there's so many things you can do, to your point. And I think we need to pay attention to them all the time. So, even at the end of a week or a month or a day, asking yourself, what brought me joy today? What did I look forward to? What was I energized by? Marcus's words, what makes me feel strong? Absolutely. Do you know your values? I was just doing these, so I have this to show. I hope this is okay. But I asked for these over the holidays and got them as a present. Live your values. These are beautiful cards. I also love card sorts. Everybody responds in different ways. These are Lisa Cogman, beautifully illustrated value cards with activity where you can just say, what matters most to me? Do you know? And then you can even look up strength lists if you want to start with something versus just kind of paying attention, and highlight the things that really stand out for you. I would do that. Another fun thing is just to think about, and I wish somebody had done this with me when I was younger, is look back over your life. Just kind of go back. And you can do it in chunks. I recommend doing this in 5 times over the course of a year. So take your age, divide it by 5, and then look at those chunks and just say, what do I know about me at this age? What did I love doing? And, I think in my youngest times, I loved playing school.
Yes.
I was, back in the day, we used to call it bossy. Now we call it leadership, right?
Yes.
These are things I really loved, bringing people together. Next chunk in high school, I was on student council. Loved that. There was a class I loved called Seeing Yourself and Others. Why did no one say, hey, this could be a career? No, never occurred to me at all. In college, I remember being at a bookstore and buying a book that had an assessment in it. And I used to go around the dorms doing this with whoever gives me the time. I've had the time to think back on these connections and go, all these things brought me joy, and they're all things I do in my life. But boy, did it take me so long to understand that this was part of me. So I would just say, number one, be curious. Go back, look at your life, be curious with yourself, be graceful. As you go back, don't beat yourself up. Oh, I should have done this, or here's what's wrong. I do that to myself. It's not worth your time now. Don't do that. See, know what's true for you. And then pay attention now in the present moment as you think of it day by day or week by week. What are the things that are strengthening to me? Pay attention to that first before, again, that second step is wisdom and offering, but you got to go in first.
Wow, that was so beautifully said. I was just so there with you and those conversations around, going back and looking at things that you love to do, because I often think that the thing that brought you joy as a child, when you can connect with that as an adult, there's something to that. I think there's something to that. So great suggestions to be curious, to go back and look at what brought you joy, what brings you joy, stay in the present moment about what's bringing you joy right now, and look to share that. All right. So let's pivot a little bit to talk about the leader helping someone unleash their natural gift or talent and their contribution.
Mhm.
So people want to contribute their gifts. They may not know what those are. They might feel boxed in by those roles, structure, job descriptions, that kind of a thing. But a great people developer will maximize the talent on their team and help them unleash that talent, help remove barriers so that they can give their gifts. What's been your experience?
You know, so where I go in my head is I led a talent management function for a good amount of time. And we have, many have competencies and expectations. You're going to need to be a talent developer. You need to develop your talent and I just want to own this right out of the gate. Some people find that as a strength, others don't.
Yes, true.
So that may be something that you enjoy. Again, look forward to, do naturally, can see the gifts in others. And for others of you, you may say, it is like a foreign language. I don't see it. I don't know. And that's okay. So no matter where you are, I do believe that it's something we need to do. I think it's a muscle that we can grow over time. Will we all feel the same about it? Will we all do it the same? No. So that's okay. What do you think, even just hearing that, Susan? I see you.
Yeah, I was thinking, and we shouldn't expect everyone to do it the same, because people are uniquely different, and it just makes no sense.
Yes.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yes, I so agree. So think about that of how do you lead? How might you develop? Some people may be really analytical with their team members about it. Other people might get really coachy and kind of pull in those coaching behaviors. I certainly have my way. You have your way. Other people are going to have their way. So pay attention to other people's tips and tricks. See what resonates best for you. I'm certainly happy and I can share some of mine, but for out of the gate, let me just say that I know that this isn't easy for everyone.
Right.
So thinking that way. When I do think about noticing gift, here's another great news. Okay. You don't have to be an all-knowing genie as a leader to look at someone and have some magical scan that says, here they are. I just see them. I have wisdom. No, you don't. Some people do have that innate gifts, but you don't have to. And sometimes we put an unrealistic burden on our shoulders to suddenly know what somebody's career might be, to know their gifts and talents. You may see skills. As a leader, you can see skills. You cannot see in the hearts of people to know strength, because remember, strength has an appetite to it. It's an activity that makes you feel strong. That's Marcus's definition. I love it. Yes. And that comes from within. So what that tells us is you can't know it anyway. So one of the best things and a common practice you should do is, so Susan, if you're my leader, I would want you asking me.
Yes.
Kelly, what activities made you feel strong this week? Get curious. What was that like for you? What get specific as you possibly can, Kelly, about what. Now I've noticed a trend. And maybe if you're an analytical leader, you're taking notes, you're making a spreadsheet. Maybe if you're, you have other ways of doing that. Do it you, but pay attention should be something that we all do. Asking and being curious is something we can all do. So lean into the wisdom of the human being that you're trying to support. And in coaching, one of the other coaching certifications I have is through an organization called CTI. And what CTI teaches is it's coactive. So again, release yourself from that burden. And I like to think of it like it's a figure eight between you and I, Susan. So you're paying attention, you ask me a question, and we are building what's in the middle here. That's coactivity. And we're doing that week over week over week. It's not some big thing that happens right away. But I think paying attention to their strengths, paying attention to what brings them joy, paying attention to their appetite, certainly sharing the things that you see, but together, I think is we're really going to identify those components that could potentially be a career or be a gift for somebody to then apply. What do you think?
I think that was well stated. I mean, pay attention, and you really got into paying attention. If anybody was to take anything away from this conversation, it would be to be observant and pay attention, to ask and to partner with your human being that you're working with and see them as a human being first.
Yes.
That was what I gathered from the conversation, and it certainly makes total sense to me. But you really brought it to light of the whole elevation of the paying attention, and that the leader isn't some clairvoyant that has to, dub them the gift of yada yada,
Yeah.
but they, be observant, see where that spark is ignited in them, help them to see it, have a conversation about it. Is that something they want to lean more into, and how can you help them toward that? Yes. That's what I think.
You don't have to be clairvoyant. I love that.
You don't. Yep. In growing people, again, it's some leaders are great at it. Some that may be their jam, that might not be their jam. But again, it's usually something that a leader has to do as part of their role and description. But I think I've seen some situations where it's the mindset of the leader and how they're thinking about their people coming and going, within their organization. And I've unfortunately seen some people hold on to people or see that, people flow through, and that's natural, because people are growing. We're beings that are experiencing, and we have aspirations for ourselves. And so we're flowing, and some leaders, can look at that as, how can I help them toward their what's next, or how they're flowing and what's going to bring them joy. And then I've also seen people that see that as not as positively.
Yes.
And want to hold on to people or hold them back in some ways, and use sometimes, well, you got to get this, or well, you're not ready, and things like that. So that whole energy can be off. And so, in coaching people, helping leaders get perspective about growth and development of their people to help them move forward, and having them see it from a place of contribution and, and fostering that growth. I'm curious around what you've experienced with leaders that you may have coached, or how you think about that personally for yourself.
That's such a tough one, because at the end of the day, your team is who helps you get the work done, and the work is a major part of your responsibility as a leader. So when you have those Susans on your team that you don't want to let go, it's hard to say, well, wait, what's best for Susan? So I think it might actually start, and this is the way I think about it as a strategist, but I dial back. And so go into define your job as a leader, and maybe it needs to be redefined, right? Okay. So yes, it is leading this business function, meeting my organizational goals. But when we talk about developing talent, it's in order to do what? In order to do what? And I love your word, so I'm going to apply it here, is, in my mind, it is about contribution.
Yes.
I think we're all on this planet to make a unique contribution. And I love, as far as live a life worthy of the calling you have received. So what is the calling you have received? So as individuals, we need to know what that is, and be open about it. So, if we're having these conversations with our team, and we are paying attention to what brings them joy, what is inspirational to them, where do they lose time in their work, and where do they struggle, where do they want to grow, what do they want more of, it shouldn't then be a surprise. and it would be a build of an evolution to say that you would be noticing in me to say, Susan, I just want something more, and I'm really loving this one component of the contribution I'm making, and I'm wanting more and more and more and more. So I will say, I think sometimes what I've witnessed is that it's a surprise. It's a surprise to the leader that they say, you want to go? You want a new? No, I can't let you go right now. Well, had you been having the conversations, you would be able to say, and sometimes this is true, in this business right now, I can't lose you on Q4, but I want to do everything I can as we continue to build through this summer, and we'll be planning, and let's get those conversations to get you ready to go in Q1. So yes, there is a balance between making sure my business runs and when that person may be releasable from a talent standpoint. And I'll go really extreme here for a second. I used to tell my team, You take every call. Now I'm not talking about moving you internally, where as a whole, my job as a leader is to help us all make contribution to our greater goals as an organization. Now I'm going to push on, what if you leave me? What if you leave our company? So I would tell my team, you take those calls. And I want to know what sparks your interest. Now, again, this is about trust. This is about a conversation, because that's real life. Is that, and in this world right now, the great resignation, I think there's a lot of leaders that are surprised. I think there was a lot of unmet passion, unmet contribution. So when they got the call, their leader didn't know. And they said yes. Before, and this is why I would tell my team, you come back and you tell me, what did you hear? What do you want more of? What do you want less of? And I will be real for you. Can I make that happen in the work that you're accountable for in this job? Is it somewhere else here or not? But let's be real, because the options are, sometimes leaders will say, that's scary, Kelly. I don't disagree. But would you rather be completely sideswiped and say, I'm giving my 2 weeks? Or do you want to know and actually do what you can? So I think trust, conversation, ongoing build of knowledge is key to letting those people go, because it's not about losing them. In my mind, it's about contribution. And that's a world thing, not a me thing as a leader.
Wow, Kelly, you just have these great nuggets. I appreciate your sharing this, because again, I think that some perspective and hopefully some shifts will happen within the audience. When you talk about that trusting conversation, it shouldn't be like someone's blindsided if they're vested in the person and they have a trusting relationship. They have these conversations. And I like, when you talk about the transition plan too, like if you have a leader, that you've trusted, you guys can work that out. So that it's a great transition to continue the contribution on the former team as you're moving to the new team. But there shouldn't be a situation where the leader's not really clear about where this person's growing to, as they're working with them in their current space. And that was really evident in the conversation that you just shared. So thank you for highlighting that. And even, to help make those transitions, to help, plant those seeds in terms of the what's next, to have a conversation with someone so to prepare them for that. Let's get you ready for that role that you're going to take next quarter, that you're looking to lean into, and how can we get some connections with some people that I might know that might be able to help you along that journey or that path.
You know what else this makes me think of too, Susan, as you're saying this, is there's almost this feeling like everybody wants to leave, or everybody wants a new job, or everybody wants to be on the same team. The other thing I've seen in my experience is a lot of people don't. And so rethinking this mindset of growth and development to say, I love my job right now. I love my job. I've been in the same job in theory by job code and title for 5 years. Susan, my job has changed almost every 6 months for 5 years. I love my job because I have a really strong and trusting relationship with my leader who knows I love to learn, who is always offering me new things, right? So I just want to pose that idea too, is if part of you feels scared, also know, wait a minute, you may not want to go anywhere as an individual and be real. Where do you want to learn? And that's okay. So it's not that you're doing something wrong either. I just want to say this. If you have a team who loves you and wants to stay, and how do we develop and roll? Because that is as much a meaningful contribution as moving on. And so we can't have everybody in the whole organization moving constantly. And I don't actually think everybody wants to. So I've had conversations with people who feel bad because they don't want to move. They don't want to be promoted. They don't want a different job. No.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. There's opportunity to, again, lean into what they love doing, find opportunities for them to contribute in that way. They're happy. The contribution is good. You're happy. So there's certainly a win-win there as well. So, and in your case, as long as you're continually challenged in a good way and loving the things that you do. I'm good.
Yes.
I don't have to go anywhere. But those are the conversations that, can happen, should happen. And as you said, if you're paying attention to your people and seeing what's bringing them joy, what they love to do, and continue to get more of them, then you'll see them continue to give maximum contribution and that extra effort, and work doesn't feel like work. Work doesn't feel like work. So great conversation, Kelly. I appreciate, every time we get a chance to get together and to talk about this or whatever it is that we're talking about. But I thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today. We could go on and on, but I know that people have other things to do, so we're going to pretty much call it a wrap. But before we do, is there anything that you would like to share? Any other closing comments as we prepare to wrap up here today?
When I think of all the things that we've put on the table, I just want to go back to where you started, and you have it right here on the screen. Know yourself. I think you're spot on, Susan. If you do have a dedication or a desire, or even if it feels like a responsibility for you to develop your people, please do start with yourself.
Yes.
It is a worthy investment, and it's whole life. This is whole life. You're all those hands in the picture, that's beyond work. That's the people you encounter in a grocery store. That's the people that you encounter in maybe your place of faith, and work, and home. So the more we know about ourselves, the broader that contribution can be, so that we can stand strong in who we are and model that as leaders. And we can share what we know and what we don't know. We can share what we're learning or curious about. We can share mistakes that we're making. I want nothing more than to follow a real leader. Mm-hmm. And you're not leading if no one's following, friends. So if you want to lead by example, get in there, do the hard work. It's a lifelong journey, and I promise it's worth it.
Very good. I love, it starts with you. It starts with you. And know yourself inwards, upside down, right side, left side. You got to know self. Got to know self. So critical. And when you know yourself, I believe, you love yourself too. So I love that you closed on that note. So thanks again, Kelly. And as we prepare to close, just a quick reminder, at Truth Enterprise Partners, we help individuals and leaders discover their true potential through coaching and consulting. So whether you're looking to enhance your skill set around people development, or if there's something else that you're looking to grow and develop into, we have tools, techniques, and resources to help you enable your performance. And you can learn more about us at truthenterprisepartners.com. You can certainly email me, Susan, at truthenterprisepartners.com, or give me a phone call at 612-237-1559. And Kelly is also available. She's an executive coach. You can reach her at kellyjohnsoncoaching@gmail.com.
And I'd say I didn't change this. I didn't add my phone, so that's on me, Susan. But here's what I'll say. Find me on LinkedIn.
Find me on LinkedIn.
I'd love to connect or hear any questions or thoughts that you have.
Thank you, Kelly. I appreciate that so much. So again, thank you all for joining us today. If you have any questions, reach out to us. And until next time, we'll see you again real soon.
Thanks, Susan.
Thank you, Kelly.